Yes,
Oh, yes.
we are actually live. Like that is the best way to start a podcast or live cast. It's cussing aloud.
Cussing
we just
aloud.
got yes, we really just went live.
That
Starting.
should be the name of this episode.
No, seriously, I think that's what I've had. Wow. Okay, I'm about to do the Earth 2 intro. I haven't done that in a while, but welcome to Earth 2 Comic Cast, where superheroes exist and comic book TV shows are the norm. We're here to talk Marvel's Runaways. This has been. I haven't done that intro in so long. I feel like this isn't what the challenge is.
We've been doing a bunch of special episodes rather than our normal stuff.
Yeah, because we're all our shows are in hiatus, and you know when those come back, we'll get back into the Earth 2 things.
Yeah.
But yes, all our shows are in hiatus. But Marvel decided, you know, while every other show is doing its own thing, we're going to drop the Runaways. I was actually blessed enough to go to. Yes, very smart. I was actually blessed enough to go to New York Comic-Con, do a roundtable with the cast and creatives of the show. It was really, really fun. Don't hate, Keem. I see that.
I'm hating a lot. Yeah.
it was really fun. And what I found out from the creatives is, you know, it's the same people who did the OC. So this is the way to describe the show. It's the OC, but with superhero elements. And that's why there's a lot of.
Well, I think it would be a better show if that was true. Let's put it that way.
Well, that's how the creatives described it. That's not what we know about the Runaways or, you know, the Runaways in general. But yes, you will notice that this is not our regular panel for Earth 2. You know, with the exception of Patrick, Keem has been here once, and we have a newcomer on Earth 2, and I'll let my special guest introduce herself, and then we can go down the line. Oh, you're up.
Oh, I'm Briana.
Okay, well, awesome. That's Briana. that's it. That's it. All right. You know Keem from Draw 4. And you know Patrick from Earth 2 Comic Cast and Tabletop in Seattle. But yeah, thank you guys for coming to do this. What's really difficult about this one is the show started about 8 weeks ago, so we have to go and we have to talk about at least 8 episodes of a show, you know, up to this point, and that's going to be really difficult. So we're going to be going really quick.
Mo, what were kind of your expectations before the show started? Like, you did that interview, and then you've read the comics, right? So what were like things you wanted to see happen?
I did the interview, and then I read the comics.
Oh,
so I didn't know. Yes,
okay.
Yes. So I didn't know anything going into that round table. So I just was freestyling my questions, and it was really awesome. Yeah,
fake it till you make it.
Yes, exactly. But when I mean, if you watch the interview and you listen to the podcast, it's really interesting. But what I was expecting from the show was just something different, because we have the CW verse and what they do with their angst and what they do with, you know, the way they handle their stuff. There's not a lot of teenage stuff on there, but they do try to tailor their shows to that audience. But you have a cast that's relatively closer to the age of the actual kids in the comic book, relatively, because 1 or 2 of them might be in their 20s playing teenagers.
Yeah, well, and Molly seems aged up from what I remember, at least.
Yes. No, actually, yes, she is.
She at least acts more mature than I remember her acting in the comics.
Yeah. But what I was expecting from the show after the interview was I just wanted something different. Something different from what I get in Arrow, something different from what I get in, you know, from all the other universes. And I wanted something to just be fresh. And I've absolutely loved the show. I know some people have criticisms because it's not what they've read, but this is one of the shows that I'm gonna give leeway to, you know, like, do what you want, but stay close enough. And before we get into our problems,
show is stupid.
Before we get into our problems and our criticisms of the show, I want to ask everyone, you know, the same question Patrick asked me. When you heard the show was coming up, what did you expect? So I will start with Briana because she's new.
Do I go?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I expected changes because it's a TV show, so it's a different media and all that. And like usually I'm fine with changes because it's like expected, but the change, I just wanted the core essence of the comics in the show, and they changed a core part that bugs me a lot. that I shouldn't go into yet.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Patrick? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, like you were talking about, I kind of felt like there was a window. So anytime you're making a TV show, you're kind of trying to think about who is the audience for. And right now we kind of have an overwhelming amount of comic book shows to watch, right? Like there's a lot of comic book content out there. But I thought, man, Runaways can really hit a different audience because it can kind of be this like 90210 or the OC. I didn't really watch the OC. I'm old. But like basically Dawson's Creek, whatever you want to compare it to, kind of a teen-oriented, teen-focused, especially if it's done authentically, superhero movie. Because that's what I remember loving about Runaways. And even as I've talked to other friends who even experienced it later on in life, they read it usually around high school or early 20s, and they just found the characters to be authentic to that age in a way that a lot of comic book characters haven't been since maybe like early Peter Parker, right? And so I think that's what I was really looking for, was a show that was going to hit a very different market.
Okay.
And tell that story.
It's okay that you picked me last because I did not read the comics, so I wasn't sure what to expect. But Patrick, I guess I'm your fellow old person, because if someone had told me this is like the OC, I would have been like, I'm not watching that shit. So I'm glad that I knew nothing about it going into it, because I've lived my teen angst days and I just don't need to do that again.
And I agree. Like, I didn't want to necessarily leave my teen. Well, I wanted to relive my teen angst days as I read the Runaways, right? Like, I wanted it to hit that kind of person, because we already have a lot of other shows that do what they like, hit adult audience for comic books.
All right, so episode 1. I forget the title because I have no notes, but episode 1 happened, and I feel like my from looking at it, because episode 1 and episode 2 kind of tying together as almost like the same episode. I think Hulu dropped the first 3, and then after that went, so we're gonna.
Can I just say, I hate when you are telling a story like this and you do the rewind thing. I hate it. I hate rewinds.
I know you do. I know you do, because you made that point when we're doing Star Trek, and you hate time loops. So I'm sorry, but this happened. Episode 1 and episode 2 I tied in together because you see the episode 1 is from the kids' point of view, and episode 2 is from the parents' point of view. So let's talk about those 2 episodes together. What did you like? What didn't you like? I think, did we get glowing genitals in episodes 1 or 2, or did we get that?
No, we don't really. Yeah, we don't really see the main villain that early.
Okay, 4. So episodes 1 and 2, dislikes. Let's go. Whoever wants to go first can go, but I would like to know what you guys think about it.
I like the first. I'm just gonna go. I like the first episode up until the end, and the end of the first episode is when you start to see what I have as issues with this show.
Okay.
And why that is it starts to show, because all right, in the comic books, they just like straight up with a knife murder that girl. Like murder, like it's full on stabbing, bloody murder, and there's no like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. Oh, I feel bad that we have to do this. They just kill her. They're just like, we're gonna kill her
first.
They thank her.
Thank you for your sacrifice.
Oh, thank you for your sacrifice. Oh, that's true.
Yes,
that does show
and it's like
that they have more than one side to them, but they kill her. So much so that while I was watching this episode, my little daughter was running around, and I was like, I wanted to make sure she wasn't in the room for the end. And then instead we get weird glowy box, and like the girl doesn't even die. And it's just, more importantly, it begins the painting of the parents as, just really
evil?
Great people who also unfortunately have to kill people.
Right.
Unfortunately.
All right. So that's episode 1 from Patrick. Keem, Briana, who wants to go next?
Go for it, Briana.
I feel like I felt the same way. I wasn't angry yet, though. I was more interested in the kids, because I was like, oh, they're there. They're there. And then they did the weird glowy box, and I was like, okay, still sacrifice. It wasn't until like I realized she didn't die that I was like, what? They didn't even see it. The whole reason of their running away, and they didn't even see it happen. So I was like, why?
So episode 1, I had a lot of questions watching it, especially since this is one of the comics that I really wasn't like, I hadn't heard of. So I'm just kind of going into it. So that opening scene with what's her name, Destiny, like I'm like, okay, clearly she's gonna be like the hero of this. And then I didn't see her anymore, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Why was she important? And then I don't realize that she's important until the end. Other than that, it was just for me, it was just more questions like, do we not have cell phones? Could Chase not have called Gert to let her know that he wasn't going to make it to the study session? Like, you can't send a text. Are we in the 80s? Is that what's happening? Like, how does it seem like a good idea to have coasters as your secret like handle for your door? Like, who does that with coasters? Because you come in and you have a drink, and the first thing you're going to do is like, oh, let me get this coaster. Is that a secret entrance? Like that, dude, do a bookcase like everybody else.
Right. At least there's lots of books.
Right. Like you just, I don't know, Tale of Two Cities or something is like the one that you pull back and the door opens, but don't just, yeah, I feel like just in watching that, I was like, these parents are really shitty about keeping secrets. Like, all of them deserve to be found out because they are just not doing their kids any favors at all.
Yeah, like at no point in his growing up, he did like bump into that thing and.
Right. unless it changes like weekly, like this week it's a coaster, next week it's just like a candle sconce or something. But yeah, just overall, and then like. We keep dinosaurs in our basements, and you let your kid go down there to like feed the other
what's
animals.
Up with that? She goes down there to feed the other animals, but she never notices that there's like this one giant like cage room or
this huge door that's like dangerous. Keep out.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I knew every nook and cranny of my house, whether my parents wanted me to know about it or not.
Right. Well, that's cool.
So, yeah, that was basically the impression that it left with me is these are horrible parents.
I'm getting episode 1 was a okay episode for everyone else. I actually really loved it. I'm sorry. I was like, I think for me, it's more so I saw these kids in person and they felt so passionate about all these characters. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like,
episode 1 is the best.
I know you guys.
It was, you know, like episode 1. I'm gonna be talking about Heroes a lot in this stupid cast. You know how in episode 1 of Heroes, you're like, hey, I see a lot of potential here. That's kind of how I felt about episode 1 of Runaways. There was a lot of potential in episode 1.
We get.
I can agree with that.
And then we get episode 2, which is like, oh, Patrick, calm down. We're gonna talk about episode 2 now.
Let's not move forward the plot like we want. Let's go and rewind the plot, and then let's focus on the characters that we don't even care about these characters.
No, but I liked episode 2 because of, again, it brought a fresh new perspective into the parents. But like you're saying, I totally agree with you how, you know, it's like, okay, let's have it's in the comic books, the parents are totally defined. You know who the bad guys are and you know who the good guys are. And you know there's a clear, distinct definition. On the show itself, it doesn't necessarily give you that distinction of, hey, you know, like and so you're seeing the parents come up in episode 2 and it's like, oh, well, I can almost, like, I think it starts in episode 2 to set the parents as not so bad guys, and I think that's where a lot of people have their problems with. And then you see,
it's not just so, yes, and I think we should all talk about that they're not so bad guys, but it's also that it's trying to like make them compelling characters. But anybody who's read the comic is going to come into it not wanting to root for them in any way. Yeah. And
now it's like you're forcing conflict with your viewers.
In my opinion, they're not doing a very good job either. Like, they're not doing a good job of making them very compelling. A few of the parents are slightly compelling, but if you want like a good example of taking a villain and making him a compelling character, like look at like Michael Rosenbaum in the original Smallville, right? Like they take Lex Luthor and they make him a pretty compelling like villain, basically. Like you really empathize with him and don't want to see him become what he becomes. But these parents, I mean, clearly Keem just needs to be like the villain of this because she's got things way better figured out than they do. They're like a mess. They're like a mess.
Yeah, they are. And
they're not very compelling.
Okay,
spoilers,
we'll get
Patrick.
to
Spoilers.
Yeah, you're going ahead. we'll get into the pride thing, eventually. But I just want to know what you guys think of the episode in general. I think in episode 2, I can almost agree with Patrick that this might be the only rewind that I don't like. This might be the only rewind that I don't like ever, but it just I was like, okay, this is the 3rd episode, so I'm just gonna get through this one and jump into the 3rd one. And that's how I felt watching episode 2. How did you guys feel about episode 2?
So I don't usually mind rewind episodes. What pissed me off about this episode was it went back like 8 hours. I was like, this is so unnecessary. You really could have summed all of this up in a montage or a voiceover or a by the way or something. Previously. Like, you just wasted a whole ass 50 minutes of my life for 8 hours.
It's a trick. You know what I hate about this episode? It's a trick. It's like the first episode is like, we're going to do this show where it's all about the kids. And then the second episode, like, no, actually, we tricked you. This show is actually about the parents.
Right. Like, you have to see where the parents are coming from and why they're doing the evil stuff they're doing. And even after seeing like the playbacks and a lot of stuff, I was like, no, Nico's mom is an emotional mess. She needs to seek counseling.
Really?
What's his name? Alex's dad, like Alex's parents, they're okay. Like, it didn't really add any more value to the show for me. It was just like, okay, so that's how they all got there. But we already knew that, the parents were in some kind of organization where they were definitely going to sacrifice somebody. I was just trying to figure out, are we sacrificing virgins? Are we like, what is the basis that we're, what criteria are we using to figure out who our sacrifices are going to be? And then, like, even after finding out that poor girl, like, has a kid, the head, like, the head of Pride was just like, we don't have time for this. Like, we don't have time to find another person. Come on, bitch, let's go. And, like, you're still gonna die. Like,
they're so bad as villains. Like, knocks that homeless dude over the head.
Oh, all right, Briana, what do you think about episode 2? Oh my god!
I don't actually remember episode 2 because nothing happened.
Exactly, nothing
blacked it out.
It's just one of those. Again, it's one of those that's it's in between 2 episodes, and it's like I'm just gonna get through it to get to the 3rd.
Are we gonna do all the episodes one by one? Because otherwise,
I'm just gonna
it's gonna kill me.
Yeah, I know. All right, you know what? Like, where would you like to go with this, Patrick? I say let's go into Pride.
That's a good idea.
Let's go into Pride and let's go into the parents, because we're going to talk about 2 things. We're going to talk about the kids, but before we talk about the kids, let's talk about the parents. And from what we know in the comic books, these guys are not nice people. They're not nice. There's no redeeming quality about these parents, because I know Brianna's waiting to get into this. I know Patrick's waiting to get into this. I'm going to give either one of them the floor to talk about Pride before myself and Keem have to just follow up. I don't know how we're going to do this. I don't know how we're going to follow up with behind and 2 of them, but this should be fun. So Briana,
we're winging it. That's cool.
Yeah, Briana, like, how would you like, what Pride?
What do you like about the Pride? What are positive things about the Pride right now?
True.
She's like,
they're like of the show, and I kept giving them backstory and making them characters, but all they do is make them look pathetic to me. Thing they do is scary to me, aside from like the fact that one of the dads are abusive. It's like, yeah, that's a villain, but not like in the like they don't even want to do the sacrifice. So it's just like, why? Nothing they do makes sense to me, and they're regretful about being villainy, and so it's like, why are they going to run away from these parents who don't even want to be villains?
Exactly, because at some point, I don't even think Chase, up to his father beat him, didn't really, even after his father beat him, he still just looks like, I'm not sure if I want to really do this. I'll get into that. We'll get into that. I'm talking about Chase. Patrick, Pride, what do you like? What don't you like? This is gonna take some time, so let's go grab coffee and come back.
What do I like about the Pride? So I kind of see what they're going for, and I'm okay with you filling out a villain, right? Like I'm okay if they were kind of filling out the villains a little bit more, giving them more purpose. Like one of the things I feel like we've moved past in a lot of ways is just the people who are evil for evil's sake. I mean, that's okay, but that actually, I think a lot of people struggle with that from a believability standpoint nowadays. So I'm okay with like, if you give us a compelling reason that these people are bad people, but as Bree said, they are pathetic. Like the whole thing, they're just, it's not that you want them to get out from these problems because they've really put themselves into the Pride and into the situation they put themselves into in a lot of ways. And then they're like whiny about it. You know what I mean? It's like they did bad things and now we're supposed to like feel bad and they're whiny about it. But like, I don't know. And I don't want it to be about them. That's the worst part. You don't want nobody watching this show, whether you read the comics or not, wants the show to be about them. We want the show to be about the kids. And so the more every minute you're spending a screen time with them rather than on the kids is like a minute that somebody is like looking at their phone rather than watching the TV show.
Right. All right.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, and hearing that they're so ruthless in the comics, it kind of makes it even all the more sad to me because when they're portrayed, you know, throughout all of this, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, it just seems like a group of people that got roped into like a really shitty pyramid scheme. And like somebody, you either went to that
evil
Cutco, the Cutco interest meeting and you bought that $300 set of knives and now you're just trying to get somebody else to come in so that you can make a little money off of them, or you signed up for that stupid Facebook, hey, ask me how you can make $160 by giving me $20 scheme, and now you're just really trying to get out from under it.
That's so right. That's right on.
That's what they seem like to me, and it just seems like, you know, they're just regular people that are trying to do the best for their kids, and for some reason they have to sacrifice people, and just like, okay, it's life, I guess.
If we get to the point where like the kids are running away and fighting these bad guys, if they become bad guys, it's like they're not a scary, threatening villain. And so much of comic books rests on the idea of good villains.
Yeah.
So do you think, I'll ask this question before we move on. So do you think they're platforming the kids at this point, or they're platforming the parents to look a certain way, and they're going to hit us really hard on a 120, on a 180? We're not going to see it coming. It's just going to be like, bam.
You mean the kids will be the villains and the parents will be the good guys?
Because that's what it's shaping up to be.
No, I'm saying. So, Alex, like, he dies. Let's just say he dies. I hope I'm not. You know, let's just say Alex dies, right? At some point in this, because he looks like
Here's what I think is going on.
Gung ho at trying to get his parents. You know, like he's the one gung ho trying to stop Pride. He dies, and the culprits are the parents. Do you think that's where we get the Runaways part of the show?
I don't.
I would hate that.
Yeah, I would hate that. I totally agree with Bree. That's stupid. But also, I think what they're doing is, we all know with Runaways, well, people who read the comics know that the first story arc is the most interesting story arc. And then things kind of go downhill. And rumor has it that things go back uphill, and it's actually a pretty solid comic book now, or it became a solid comic book. But like, I read the first story arc, and then I read like halfway through the second story arc and fell off. So my theory is they know that the first story arc is the one that's good. So they're going to drag that sucker as long as it's going to be like Dragon Ball Z episodes. Like, basically, they're not going to run away until the name of the show is Runaways, and they're not going to run away until like the end of the first season.
Wow.
So, yeah, okay. So what Patrick is saying right there, I can agree with, because I've been watching, and I know I'm not as far ahead as you guys. I think I only got to episode 5. But It's you can totally spoil it for me. It's fine. So I'm watching and I'm like, well, okay, it's called The Runaways and nobody has actually left home. So maybe what they're talking about is the people that get kidnapped and sacrificed, because those are the people that run away from home, and they're what started this whole thing. But no, okay, so they're gonna run away.
No, you would be right to think that. That is a right thinking. I do not blame you at all.
So I thought I had like some real. I was like, oh, I am thinking out of the box right now. Go me! I figured all this out beforehand.
All right,
but
so
okay.
Now I guess we can talk about the kids in a kind of funny way.
Wait.
Now, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You want to bring something up, so please.
It bugs me that the only people who have talked about running away are the parents.
Yes.
Like there's 4 parents who wanted to run away, and they're like,
yes.
Our kids are fine. Let's just take them away somewhere. But they're the only people who want to run away so far, and the kids have like witnessed a murder, but not really, because she didn't die.
Well,
and like, couldn't they have dragged it out and done it better? You can be conflicted and still be evil. And couldn't they have done the parents like through the kids' eyes? I don't get it.
Well, see, that episode 2 would have been awesome for that if they had have shown more than 8 hours prior. Like, show me you've been killing a kid a year for the last 15 years. Show me the progression over the last 15 years where you hate the guts of every other Pride member.
Oh man, that would have been so good.
That would be so helpful to me.
And you could show them like maybe the first sacrifice, they're all like really sad and feeling bad, like they showed it at the end. But by the end, they're like, "Oh, this is just business." Like they're just cold, and that would have been amazing. Keem, you need to write for the show.
Hey, I'm available. If anybody's watching, I'm available.
Did they eventually show one of the first early sacrifices? Did they?
They showed the first one, and then that's when they were like, "We just made a deal with the devil. We can't get out of it." Oh no!
And explain that. Explain that. What do you mean by that?
Yes.
Because I know you're really angry about that. I want to hear. Yeah, I want to hear your take on that. The first sacrifice.
They're like, "Oh, we're in robes. This is really weird, but glowing boner guy wants this." They're in robes, and then this kid comes in, and he's like, "This is I forgot his name, like Max or whatever. He's ready. I don't need the drink. I'm ready." And he just gets into the box. He's not screaming or anything, like how like the commercials make it seem like. He literally gets in the box and turns to light, and that's it. And they're like, "Where did he go? What just happened? Is he dead? What happened?" And then Alex's dad finds a camcorder, and he's like, "We can't just leave anymore. We just made a deal with the devil. That's it." And like, "Oh no. Oh no."
She's upset. I will agree that the show does need better. Like, I feel like they're doing a lot of like dragging. A lot of things. This first season might be dragged till the end of it. We're getting closer to what I feel like is the end of this season, and I feel like it's gonna drag till it gets there. But
this is the end. This can't be the end. Nothing's happened.
It's 12.
That's
I think
the point.
The season is 12 episodes.
Yeah, the season is 12. It's 12 episodes. We're at 9.
Oh, it's 12.
8, 9. Yeah, we have. No, I think this is 12. I think it's 12. But yeah, I think they're gonna drag because again, this first arc in the comic books is like one of the better first arcs of comic books. Like
absolutely.
It's.
I mean, if you haven't read Runaways, don't not read it because of the show.
Yeah, if you haven't read it and you like the show,
you'll like it more.
I'll say don't read it. I'll say don't
really
read it because you're gonna read it and you're gonna end up like Briana.
I'm hearing Patrick and I'm hearing Briana and I'm having flashbacks to every Dan Brown book I read and then saw the movie and sat in the movie theater like, what the fuck is happening? So I don't want this to be one of those moments.
Yes, so I would say don't read it, but you want to read it. Maybe when the season is done and it's it's done for like a while, you can go back and like, so this is what this is supposed to be like. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those things. Anyway, so the kids. We've been trying to talk about kids.
You read the comic book more recently,
yes.
Mo? So what's the name of the main bad guy who they resuscitate? He gets younger. in the show?
The guy from Nip Tuck is how I am referring to him.
Okay,
Jonah.
Nip Tuck guy. Jonah? His name's Jonah?
Yeah.
Glowing boner Jonah.
You know, by the way, that your villain isn't very compelling when nobody even knows his name. So, anyways, was he in the comic book? I don't remember that guy in the comic book at all.
No. I think that this was done for the show in terms of we need to make. Again, I think it's really weird how they're trying to make the parents not bad, not demeaning.
Does Bree have some concerns about Jonah that she needs to voice?
You know what? Let's talk about Bree's concerns about Jonah and pre Nip Tuck Jonah, when he's like scaly old man, degenerated Jonah.
After two.
Before he gets
2 times.
Yeah, it's 2 Jonah. Yeah. And so you see Jonah in this weird
My wife
state.
did not like that scene when she gets into bed. She did not like that scene.
I thought it was her dad, and I was like, what is happening?
I did too.
I thought it was her dad. I'm like, this is so weird. This is very weird.
Like, she was more freaked out by that scene than anything that ever happened in Stranger Things.
Because I'm watching it, and I'm understanding from like this is like, oh, this is like the progenitor of the church. This is the guy who started the church. And if this is the guy who started the church, this is her grandfather. And they're like, no. And then she's rubbing his arm, and then you see the glowing genitals. Like, it is great. No, it's
so
actually
about
that.
Something flaked off in her, and there's
in her.
I said it. I'm not sorry about it either.
It just all that friction. She's
gonna need an antibiotic soon. That's all I'm gonna.
He should have I don't want to say it, because if you saw the last episode, you would have seen what happens if his juice touches you. So let's not even go there.
Okay.
Make it stop. Make it stop.
He touched is it Gertz? Yeah, Gertz's dad, kind of like got a little bit of Jonah on him.
So wait. So his power.
He's just jacking off in the meditation room. Why is there Jonah nut on people? Okay, I have so many questions. I should have started watching earlier.
No, if you need, I'm not gonna spoil that for you. You need to get.
I'm gonna finish it probably before bed tonight.
Oh my goodness. Oh gosh.
Sorry, Briana. You have concerns. I have concerns about Jonah. Just the casting on that.
We're not gonna get past this anytime. This is your fault, Keem, by the way.
My bad.
No,
I'll try to bring it back in. So anytime you see that person, I think his name is Julian McMahon.
Yeah, I'm thinking Nip Tuck.
From Nip Tuck, yeah. You already know he's going to be the villain because he never plays like a trustworthy person. So as soon as he popped up in the jail cell for Alex's dad, like when he was in jail, I was like, oh, clearly he's the bad guy. You can't trust that guy. You can never trust him. Like, so it was already, you already knew that he was going to be someone that had a high degree of ain't shitness. Already.
So wait. Bree, can you explain Jonah's power? Because I don't understand.
Sure, if he's Carolina's dad, he is the alien that Macedonian aliens, and they use solar light.
Mm-hmm.
Understand anything about him aside from the fact that his penis glows.
And his juice.
So
he's happy.
Okay, so that makes a little. So you think he's?
And
your theory is he's one of the aliens?
Yes.
Yeah,
I can agree with you on that one. I can agree with you on that one. But
in the comic book, wasn't it just her parents were aliens?
Yeah, and they were invaders, and so that's if she's the dad. I'm assuming he's the alien. But Carolina doesn't go in specific places at all.
All right.
But that would be weird because she's young. So
that would be really weird.
Yes.
Yeah,
really weird.
Like once you're 18, your parents take you in the room. They teach you how to concentrate your glow just to the crotch area. It's like a rite of passage.
I'm telling you, Keem needs to write the show. I want to watch Keem.
Okay. Can we talk about the Alex's kind of like when they captured him when he got kidnapped by his dad's former
he shoots people?
Yes. And you know, we actually get to see the Runaways do Runaway stuff.
Well, I'm a little let down by Alex right now because if I remember correctly in the comic book, he's like a strategic mastermind. Like he's super smart, not just about computers, but he's just like very like if you were playing like a war game or something with him, he would always win, right?
Yeah. Yes. It just seems now like he is the what's it called? He's just really moving really emotional for me at this point, and I'm not really I actually want him to die, but you know, because he's just being really emotional and dumb and young. And
wow,
maybe hold on, maybe it's like, dang, I was emotional and dumb and young, and like I don't want to see myself on TV because there was a girl I liked, and I would do anything for her, and I just see him just being really dumb and really young and like not really thinking like. He's really dumb and young. I'm sorry, and very emotional.
But that is closer to like what I would expect Runaways to be.
Yes, but everyone else is dealing with their own dumbness and youngness differently. Caroline is, you know, trying to adjust with the fact that she's finding out that she glows all over.
I don't like Gert is
and
like
now she can fly.
A really bad stereotype of like modern social justice warrior.
A
really bad stereotype.
I almost want to agree with you, but I've actually seen her in person and I've spoken to her, and she's actually that person. She's actually yeah. So I can't. You know,
even the snarky comments.
She really okay. There are moments off camera when we're doing the interviews where she was like really answering some questions, and I was like, oh wow, like, and I'm watching the show and I'm like, oh my god, like I can see why.
Who is the coolest of the cast? Like, who is the like nicest and most helpful in answering questions and stuff for you? Who is the coolest? Who should we be rooting for?
Alex. Like he was.
But you just wanted to kill him.
I wanted to kill him. But I'm so disappointed in his character. But he's actually a really, really cool guy.
Yeah, not just teenagers. Teenagers in Hollywood.
Yeah,
I take it back. Lyrica is the coolest. Which is Lyrica O'Connell. She plays
Nico.
I know who she plays. Help me, but you guys can help me if you want to help me.
Should I just not say Nico?
There you go. Now I'm sad. Like watching. You were right there. You were right there.
You know me.
You know me.
So the thing,
no, but she's actually the coolest, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, I agree with you on. I don't want Alex to die. I'm not going to go that far, but I will say that. And I'm going to talk with my hands a lot, guys, because my dad paid for me to get a manicure today, and I don't usually get them. So, like, I just feel like I just need to, like, thanks, Daddy.
So show out. All right, show out.
So
make sure he watches this too, so he can see this.
Yeah, so you can see, I'll let him see this specific part.
Okay.
So the thing that bugged me about Alex is in every scene, he looks like he's like this close to crying. Like if he went to McDonald's and they put mayonnaise on his chicken sandwich, even though he asked them not to, it's just going to be full on ugly crying for like 15 minutes. If he forgot his number 2 pencil for the test that was coming up, he is going to lose it. Like his face the whole time was just like in this, he's like trying to hold it together, but he can't. So the whole time it's just like this frown thing. And I think that to me is a turnoff to his character, because he just seems very whiny and emotional, and I need him to do better. Yeah. And
he needs to die.
And yeah. Okay, no, he doesn't need to die. He needs to man up a little bit. That's what I'm gonna say.
But he shot someone though, so like, was that his man up moment? No, yes, yes, no.
No, because
to
right
protect
after
his
that,
dad.
Yeah, like when you shoot somebody and you own it and be like, I bet you're not gonna fuck with me no more, are you? Instead, he's like, we have to get him to a hospital. Like, no.
Keem said that like she knows. Like she knows.
I've heard things. but yeah, like,
so disclaimer, he has never shot anyone.
I've never shot anyone in this country, but no, no, I've never shot anyone.
Okay.
But
all right.
In paintball, I have tagged quite a few people in paintball, but other than that, no. But yeah, like even after that, then like he does it, and it's like instant regret, and then you just shot your dad you just shot this guy to save your dad, and now you're cursing your dad out because your dad won't take him to a hospital. Like there's too much of that happening in the show.
They killed a kid.
I can excuse all the kids' issues because it's like they're still teenagers and they're growing. And it's like I remember like hating everything I did yesterday. So, so like he wanted to save his dad because he still loves him.
So
and
is that
doesn't know that he's go ahead.
So I'm guessing that was his final, like his end point. At that point, it was like, you know what? I don't love you anymore, Dad, because you killed the guy I shot to protect you. Like, I'm sorry.
I think one of the problems the show's having actually is that it's dealing with these children's mixed emotions, which is fine. Like they should have mixed emotions about their parents, but they're dealing with them while living under the same house. Whereas in the comic book, they're dealing with like a sense of, like they, what's the word I'm looking for? They are homesick. They're homesick basically, and they're dealing with the fact that their parents are like evil villains. So there's kind of like a missing aspect because they're like every scene where you have one of the kids with their parents is an awkward scene in the show, honestly.
It is. And then I hate how, and I hate when most shows do this where they start making the villains, like they make them likable. So like kind of towards the end, all of the parents kind of start becoming likable.
Nice people.
Like Nico's mom is like, here, take this, the thing, the looking glass.
Take my crazy, super powerful, magical staff that I can blow up the world with.
Yeah,
here,
like
play with it.
Only me and you can use.
I'm not going to tell you how to use it or anything.
Yeah.
But have fun. See what happens.
It out on your own.
Accidentally murder my husband because that would be really convenient for me right now.
You know what I actually don't like about Nico's character or Nico's arc or story arc, not character, story arc, is the fact that it comes off at first, it's like, I'm angry at the world. I'm angry because my sister died and you gave me this shitty explanation. And they never, I hope they do address, they're probably never going to address their sister's death. They're probably, never going to go into.
Go, Bree, go. You can't just say that.
No,
you can't go quiet. Go.
Is that?
No, they have.
Okay. We have okay. So we can't talk about it, but yeah, we'll talk about. I'm sorry. I feel like Bree's like, I want to say something so bad. I want to spoil so bad, but I can't. We'll spoil next week though. No, okay. Well, according to Bree, they have addressed it, but it just felt like it took so long to get to that story arc. It's just, I hope the payoff is really good. Can you at least say that much, Bree?
It's interesting. It's more interesting than the last 5 episodes.
Wow. Okay. I can't wait.
I liked this episode. Stuff happens.
Oh man, I kind of want to talk about the last episode where okay, but coming up to so we're getting closer to the end of the more recent episodes. Chase and his dad are kind of cool now because he found out his dad has brain cancer, and it's like, hey, Dad, you have brain cancer, so I guess I can.
That makes it okay for you beating me and stabbing tables.
It's okay that you've murdered people for 15 years or whatever because you have brain cancer.
It's like, I was mad at you, but I'm not mad at you anymore because you have brain cancer.
Don't you think this show puts itself in a really dangerous place where it's like trying to create sympathy for very evil people?
Yes.
Abusers. Like, isn't it putting itself in the crosshairs for some very ugly commentary? Because it is. It's almost some of this show almost is like one of those articles where, like, you know, an ex-rapist writes about like why they're really not such a bad person.
Right, right. Because Chase's dad is the worst kind of person. He beats his wife.
He's a terrible person. Yeah, Number one, he was Spike on Buffy, and before he got his soul, he was really a cunt. So like, you can't trust him either. I know you're still evil, Spike. I see you. But yeah, like as soon as he finds the gloves, Chase's power gloves, and like then he's like, "Oh, hey, let's work on this together, son." And I'm like, "Oh, don't you dare, don't you fall for this and start like having father-son bonding moments right now." Like all of a sudden, it's all good because he's helping you like work on your weapon that you were working on to defeat him if you needed to.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they bond, and then it's like, yeah, this isn't cool. But yeah. You're right. In a way, it is kind of like interesting to kind of place that conflict and have the parents kind of go, I don't know if I'm going to be fully bad, but I just, again, reading the comics and coming back, it's like, I kind of want them to go full bad with the parents, but if they do not.
I might even be okay if they were sympathetic, but also really good at their job.
Yes.
But they're both not very sympathetic, but they're trying to make them sympathetic. But they're just not good villains. Like they're bad at doing this. Like,
the worst part about it, the worst part about the show is, okay, if you're going to make the parents sympathetic and not really the main villains of the show, at least make your main villain really, you know, like a real villain. Make us hate him. I don't care for what Jonah's doing.
Maybe that's why his genitals glow. Maybe like
it's to focus on the fact that he's a dick.
There you go. Symbolism. Saw those AP English classes coming into use now. Yeah.
Okay. So Jonah's a dick, and no, I really want to talk about Jonah Juice episode. You know, the last episode. Like, you really need to know this game.
Jonah better be Jonah better be a he better be a damn good villain, because basically at this point the whole show rides on him being a good villain.
They're kind of at this point. I think they might be trying to ease you into that, because like when he's like fully resurrected and she goes to give him a hug and he's like, I just want to look into her eyes, and like she goes, you know, Carolyn's mom goes to hug him and the look on her face is kind of like, oh shit. Like, yeah, I really don't, you know, I don't want my daughter, I love him, but I don't want my daughter around him. Like, and so I think it's probably just gonna, like, that's just a hint of she adores him, but she does know that he's like really, really evil.
But you have 3 more episodes. You can't really stretch that into, look, man, you need to figure him out in the next 3-4 episodes.
He's just got to go 0 to 100. Actually, like one day he's throwing happy jizz on people, the next day he's just smacking everybody, and like then everybody's like, oh my god, Jonah's evil.
Bree, you did say it's 10 episodes, right?
It looks like 10 episodes. It only has 10 more episodes planned that I've seen.
Okay.
Oh wow, so you got 1 more episode, or 2 more episodes, or 1 more to let us know what's 2 more episodes to let us know what's really going on. And well, we don't know what's going on, but is it final question? This is the last question I'm going to ask. So far, are you interested in seeing the direction of the show, or are you just like, let's just get it over with? Where are you at, with the show right now? Wow.
Well,
I just want them to run away.
Oh, you didn't hear me?
I just want them to run away.
Go ahead, Bree. What are you gonna say?
I just want them to run away. So the show can start.
Okay, so you're over it. You're over this whole like dramatic drag. You just want them to run away and get into the show.
I think they could have done the drag better, but like the way they did it was just really annoying, and like the parent drama I didn't care about, and the fact that they don't even want to do the villain things. The comics, they were like, we are like actual super villains, but we're doing this for our kids. But they're not even doing it for the kids in the show. They're just trapped.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
I need him to run away.
Okay, great. Patrick?
Run away.
I mean, I'll definitely stick with the show. So I am being very harsh on the show. However, my wife is really enjoying the show, and my wife does not watch comic book shows. So the fact that I'm watching something with a Marvel header with my wife has been really good. Like that part of the show I'm really liking. And like I don't want her to hear this cast because like I want her to like live in bliss that like this is a cool show that she likes. But I mean, so I will continue to watch it, but right now I am feeling a lot like I felt like with Heroes. That's why I said I'd be talking about Heroes a lot, where it feels like they are putting the potential for goodness up every episode and then kicking it a little further down the field. Yeah, they kick it a little further down the field. You're like, in the next episode, you're going to finally get a good show. And then you watch the episode, you're like, in the next episode, it's coming. It's coming. Don't worry. And so if we end with like a big boss battle happening behind a closed door, which is what happened into Heroes, then I'm going to be really, really angry. And so I will stick with the show, and I hope that it gets better. And I hope that to be fair, every TV show's first season is kind of learning what it is and what works and doesn't work. So maybe they'll learn. Maybe at the end of the first season, they're like, you know what? These parents, they suck. Let's focus on the kids. Let's realign, and it could be still a really good show. So I think, to the show's credit, the kids match their characters in the comic very well.
Yes.
And the kids are solid actors. And I feel like a lot of this show is saying, we're not sure that these kids can carry an entire show, so we have to focus on adult actors that are like from The Wire and stuff that we can trust. And I'm like, no, like really, I think the kids can carry the show, so just let them fly, man.
Right.
Those kids better get paid. If those parents are getting paid a lot more than the kids,
that's gonna suck. Yeah. I kind of feel like Patrick is being a little bit of a Charlie Brown with the football right now, with like like
I'm all in. I'm running, and I'm running hard. I got this time. I'm kicking that ball.
I look forward to talking next week and just seeing you like because it's still not what you need it to be.
I don't think Bree or Patrick can take that.
Bree gave me hope. She said this next episode is solid, so she gave me some hope.
Okay.
I didn't say that. I said
I need hope. I need it.
All right.
I'm gonna keep watching. I want to see. Like Bree said, I want to see somebody run away. I wouldn't even be mad if like Alex looked into the camera and was like, I think we should all run away. Like it would make it all worth it for me at that point. Just like
stop howling around, stop walking around, be like, oh, my parents, oh, what do we got? Just get out of the house.
Just everybody, and then he's like, I'm good, I'm leaving, I'm moving into the guest house. Like, you know what, Alex, your only redeeming quality right now is that you're a Whovian. If you didn't have that, my other car is a TARDIS license plate thing, I would really, really hate him. But
man.
I need the Amy aspect and why they had to add it. Because I think that's where you hate Alex, where he's all whiny about it because his best friend committed suicide.
Oh my gosh.
But didn't.
Really?
But she probably didn't commit suicide. Yeah, I need to know, why is that so significant?
The show opens up with him staring at his video game like, she used to play this with me. Dude, get up and go to school. Oh, look, don't get me started.
And then to ease the pain, he starts moving in on her little sister.
Oh.
That's how you do it, right? Like, I was really aiming for your older sister, but she's not here, so you're up.
Look, I like the show. I like what it's doing. I think it's hitting its target audience, though. It's really hitting its target audience. I actually do not. Hold on. I don't think its target audience is. It's actually the comic book, the fans of the comic book. Because if it was, they missed that target. It's
Is it parents who feel bad about doing bad things?
No, teenagers, preteen, because among teenagers,
guilty parents is our target audience
that I talk to. No, it's a pretty okay show, and I can't really talk bad about the show. I know, I don't know them, but I talk to these guys. Like I was right there.
If you're gonna be in this business mode, you gotta go.
No. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Mo is our positivity, and then me and Anthony come in with like tanks and run them over,
and kill everything that is good.
Seriously,
yeah.
You should see when we do Star Trek, or when we're doing that one episode of Star Trek. I think the only one episode of Star Trek that Patrick didn't like. My heart was hurt.
The best part is Anthony came into that show liking that episode, and by the end, he's like, "This episode sucked."
And I was just like, I'm sad. I was really sad at the end of the cast, and I was like, no, you guys just hurt my feelings. Let's end the cast here now. But anyways, I want to thank you guys for coming and doing this. We'll be back to do this next week, and I will start off with Bree next week and let her tell us about episode 9, and kick us into the yeah. We didn't really go episode per episode. We just wanted to talk about what we got so far. And I think we did accomplish a lot of that, right? Yeah. Keem, check your notes. Did we get into that?
Any last thoughts?
Yeah. Like I'm looking through here. Like I've got some zingers here, but I think I've done enough with genitalia. So I'm just gonna. I'll save that for next.
Oh, I need you to see.
I'm sure it'll come up.
You will have so many more. You will have so many more because once you see the episode with the juice. Look, you come. Yeah, it was happy juice. Anyway, thank you guys for coming, and thank you, Bree, for doing this with us this week. I hopefully you'll be back to do this with us next week. Patrick, it's always a pleasure to have you. Keem, it is always a pleasure to have you. Hopefully you'll be back next week. Thank you guys again. Thank you to our viewers, and thank you to the guys who are going to be listening to this, through the podcast. Your boy MoeCrosby from Earth 2 coming out. It's your boy MoeCrosby from Earth 2 Comicast.
Hey, nobody's judging you.
Yeah, okay, let's try this again. It's your boy MoeCrosby from Earth 2 Comicast. I'm signing out right now. Thank you for watching our Marvel's Runaway discussion.
Bye.